Texas pulled in more new residents than almost any other state in America over the past few years. And builders answered with subdivision after subdivision, whole grids of homes thrown up for a wave of people sure the growth would never stop. But here is what they are not telling you. The market did not run out of homes. In a handful of these towns, it ran out of the one thing that was actually holding the price up. Across most of Texas right now, prices are only softening. The statewide median has slipped a little, listings are piling up faster than buyers can absorb them, and homes that used to sell in a weekend now sit for around 80 days while the price quietly gets cut. But there is a small group of towns where it is not gentle at all, where the forecast is not a soft landing but a real fall, because each was built on a single fragile thing: one industry. One reason people ever move there, and when that one thing turns, the whole town turns with it. The thing turning right now is oil. West Texas, crude has dropped under $60 a barrel. The government's own forecast has it averaging only about $51 a barrel this year, and rig counts across the Permian Basin have fallen to lows not seen since the shutdown year of 2020. So here are 10 Texas towns where the housing market breaks first, ranked by how far the numbers are projected to fall, according to Zillow's own forecast. This is not the whole state falling, and it is not a number invented for a thumbnail. These are the towns where the forecast already turned hard negative while the rest of Texas barely moved. Number 1 is projected to post the steepest home price drop anywhere in the state. Stay to the end, let me break it down. Number 10 is La Mesa, out on the flat plains south of Lubbock. And La Mesa only works when two things are working at once. This is cotton country sitting on the edge of the oil patch, a place that has always leaned on the land and on the rigs at the same time. The mechanism turning on it now is that both engines are cooling together. When crude trades this low, the drilling work that supplements farm income dries up, and a farm economy standing alone cannot carry the town. Zillow's forecast has values here sliding almost 6% over the year. The human cost is the family that stretched to buy when the oil field was hiring and now watches the for sale signs multiply with no new workers coming to take them. For a patient buyer, that is the first real opening in years. For the owner who bought near the top, it is the bill coming due. Number 9 is Vernon, up near the Oklahoma line, and Vernon shows what happens when a town has almost no second act. This is ranch and farm country, a quiet agricultural seat that never rode a boom and so never built a cushion. The mechanism here is simple thinness. There is no tech campus coming, no new industry moving in, just an aging farm economy and a population drifting sideways or downward for years. When a town stops growing, housing demand stops with it, and Zillow projects values here falling about 6%. The human cost is the longtime owner who assumed the house would always be worth at least what they paid, now learning that in a town with no fresh demand, that floor was never guaranteed. Number 8 is Raymondville, deep in the Rio Grande Valley, a town tied to a single seasonal heartbeat. This is farm country, a small valley community that lives and dies by the agricultural calendar and the handful of service jobs around it. The mechanism is income that never had room to spare. Wages here are among the lowest in the state, and Texas carries some of the highest property tax rates in the entire country, so that carrying cost bites harder here than almost anywhere. Zillow's forecast has values here dropping around 7%. The human cost is the family that did everything right, bought modestly, and still finds the cost of simply keeping the house climbing faster than the paycheck ever did. And when the most stretched owners are forced to sell, those distressed prices become the new comparable for everyone. And by the way, if you have followed me this far, you are paying closer attention than most people who read the headline and scroll on. The towns coming up next are where the projected drops stop being uncomfortable and start being severe. Number 7 is Rio Grande City, right on the border. And this one carries a warning sign the others do not, because the people are already leaving. The town leans on agriculture, on government and service work, and on a little energy activity along the river. The mechanism is the most dangerous one of all, which is jobs and population that are actually shrinking. Employment here fell by nearly 6% in a single recent year, and when the work leaves, the workers leave, and when the workers leave, they are not buying houses, they are listing them. Zillow projects home values dropping roughly 7.5%. The human cost is the owner competing not just against a few neighbors, but against a steady trickle of families packing up and moving out, all putting their homes on the same thin market at once. A town can survive cheap prices. What it cannot survive is losing the very people who were supposed to buy the next house. Number 6 is Sweetwater, west of Abilene, and Sweetwater bet on 2 booms and is now watching both lose their wind at once. For years, this was an energy crossroads, an oil and gas town that also became a hub for the wind farms that spread across that part of West Texas. The mechanism is what happens when the building phase of a boom ends. The huge build out of turbines that brought in crews and paychecks does not last forever. And once the towers are standing, those jobs thin out while the oil side slides right along with the price of crude. Zillow's forecast has values here falling nearly 8%. The human cost is the worker who moved in for the construction, bought near the peak of the activity, and now finds the crews gone and identical homes nearby, listing for noticeably less. Now stop for a second, because this next stretch matters most. Whether you already own a home in one of these towns or you have been quietly planning a move to Texas because someone told you it was still cheap, the final 4 are where the projected drops are deepest, where the carrying cost has climbed hardest, and where the most paper wealth sits on the thinnest support. This is the part you came for. Number 5 is Beeville in South Texas between Corpus Christi and San Antonio, a textbook town riding a shale wave that has already crested. When the Eagle Ford fields were booming, towns like this filled up fast with energy money layered on top of an old base of farming and government work. The mechanism is the shale cycle running in reverse. As drilling slows across South Texas, the energy paychecks that lifted local home prices fade, and the town is left leaning on agriculture and a prison economy that were never going to support boom-era prices. Zillow projects values here dropping about 8%. The human cost is the investor who bought to rent to oilfield workers, cannot find the tenants, and is now covering the mortgage out of pocket every month. Investors do not hold at a loss the way a family holds a home. They sell fast and all at once, stacking even more supply onto a town that already has too much. Number 4 is Big Spring, back in the heart of the Permian, and Big Spring shows how violently a pure oil town can swing. This is West Texas energy country at its most concentrated, where the refinery and the oil field very nearly are the economy. The mechanism is brutal in its simplicity. When crude was high, money and workers poured in and prices climbed far faster than any local paycheck could justify. Now that crude has fallen under $60 and the rigs are going idle, that same machine runs in reverse, and Zillow's forecast has values here dropping more than 8%. The human cost is the family that bought new during the last run-up, certain the oil money would keep flowing, and now owes more than the house down the street is even asking. There is almost nothing else holding the price up. No deep job base, no scarcity, just the price of a barrel of oil, and that is the easiest thing in the world to lose. So here is something worth sitting with before the last three. Everything we have talked about, the single industry, the boom that reversed, the worker who vanished, all of it shows up more clearly in the final towns than anywhere else. And the number one town on this list is posting the steepest projected home price drop in the entire state. The reason it falls hardest is the part almost nobody explains correctly, and we are about to get to it. Number 3 is Zapata, sitting right on the river in deep South Texas, built on a quieter kind of energy that is fading just as fast. This is natural gas and agriculture country, a small community whose fortunes have always tracked the rigs along the border and the farm work around them. The mechanism is the same single industry trap, only here the industry is gas rather than oil, and the low price environment has hit it just as hard. When the gas work slows, there is precious little else, and Zillow's forecast has values here falling nearly 10%. The human cost is the owner who counted on the energy economy holding the value of the house steady and is now watching listings sit while the asking price gets marked down again and again. Number 2 is Alice in South Texas, a place locals have long called the hub city of the region. And Alice carries more weight on a single industry than almost any town on this list. For generations, this was an OIL town first and an agricultural town second, where the surrounding energy fields cashed their checks and bought their homes. The mechanism is concentration, with no backup. When the oil and gas work that built this town slows, there is the farm economy and a scattering of government jobs to fall back on, and that is not enough to hold up the prices the boom created. Zillow projects values here falling almost 10%, one of the steepest drops anywhere in the state. The human cost is the regular buyer who paid a boom-era price for a modest house and now watches that value mark down month after month, while the energy paychecks that once supported it disappear. Alice is softening because the one industry that set its prices has run out of room. And that brings us to number 1. I told you it would be the town posting the steepest projected drop in all of Texas, and I meant it. Because everything we have talked about, the boom, the speculation, the single fragile industry, all of it shows up here more clearly than anywhere else. Number 1 is Pecos. The poster child of the West Texas oil boom is now first in line to feel the bust. Understand what Pecos actually is. It sits in the very heart of the Permian Basin, the largest oil field in the United States, and almost everything in town orbits around the drilling. When the rigs run hot, Pecos fills up fast, prices race ahead of every local wage, and speculative money pours in chasing the boom. That design is the mechanism. The same forces that send prices up the fastest send them down the fastest too. With crude under $60, with the basin's rig count at lows not seen since 2020, and with major producers already laying workers off, Zillow's forecast has values in Pecos falling almost 12%, the deepest projected drop of any market in the state. The human cost is the family that paid the peak price for the dream of an oilfield paycheck and now watches that value sink while the work that justified it dries up. Let me be honest with you. This is not the end of Pecos, and the oil under that ground is not going anywhere. But a town engineered entirely around one boom will always feel the break first and feel it hardest, because the speculation is the first thing to run for the door. So here is the thread that ties all 10 together. Not one of them is a bad place to live. They are simply the places where the break shows first, because each leaned on a single industry, watched a boom pull prices far ahead of local paychecks, and is now feeling that one engine cool with nothing underneath to hold it up. So tell me where you stand. Drop a comment with the Texas town you are in right now, whether you own there or you are planning the move. And what is really driving your local economy? Because that one answer tells the real story of your housing market better than any headline. Then tell me which town on this list you think I ranked wrong, because I read every single one. If you are the kind of person who believes the real story of this market is the one the headlines keep getting backwards, hit the subscribe button right now. Because next, I am flipping this entire list over and showing you the Texas towns quietly holding their value while everyone else panics. The places I would actually put my own money this year. And number one on that list is a town most people drive straight past without ever looking twice. We will see you in the next one.